Ella Rivers, a passionate 22-year-old ecology student, had devoted her summer to a wildlife research program in a tropical rainforest in India. It was an opportunity she had long dreamed of, a chance to immerse herself in the natural world and learn from leading experts in the field. The first days of the program were filled with excitement as she joined expeditions, recorded data on various species, and spent quiet afternoons beneath the dense canopy, listening to the symphony of the jungle. But she never imagined that just weeks into her journey, an unexpected event would transform her experience entirely. Heavy rains had lashed the region for days, swelling the rivers and darkening the skies with thick, ominous clouds. One afternoon, alarms rang out across the area as news of a major flood spread quickly. Ella and her research team joined the local rescue efforts, helping evacuate villagers and move belongings to safer ground. It was her first time facing such an emergency, but her sense of responsibility drove her to tackle every task without hesitation. While assisting a rescue team near a large river, Ella heard a faint cry rising above the roar of the rushing water. It wasn't a human sound. She turned and saw a sight that made her heart race. A tiny leopard cub, small and terrified, clinging to a drifting branch in the torrent. The helpless creature was being swept further from the shore by the powerful current. Its wide, frightened eyes and feeble cries seemed to plead for help, a desperate call amid the chaos. Without a second thought, Ella plunged into the water. Her colleagues shouted after her, trying to stop her, but she had already made up her mind. The icy water engulfed her, and the force of the current made every step a struggle. But she pressed on, swimming as fast as she could toward the cub. Each stroke was powered by sheer determination. As she reached the branch, she extended her arm and grabbed the trembling creature. This wet fur was slippery, but she held on tight with both hands. The cub thrashed in panic, his tiny claws scratching her arms. But Ella didn't let go. She cradled it against her chest, speaking soothingly even though she knew it couldn't understand her words. The current grew stronger, but with every ounce of strength, Ella swam back toward the shore. Her muscles screamed with exhaustion, but the terrified gaze of the cub fueled her resolve. Finally, she reached the riverbank, where the rescue team awaited. Once on solid ground, Ella gently set the cub down on a dry patch of earth. Gasping for breath but relieved, she watched the cub, noticing it was still shaking but alive and safe. Suddenly, a low growl rumbled in the distance, making Ella freeze. On a nearby hill, a large leopard, clearly the cub's mother, stood watching. Its golden eyes locked onto Ella's. Unblinking, there was caution in its gaze, but no immediate aggression. The mother leopard took a step forward and then stopped. As if assessing the situation, Ella remained still, keeping her composure. She knew that any sudden move could be misinterpreted. The cub, after a moment of hesitation, let out a weak cry and wobbled toward its mother. The leopard bent down, nuzzling its cub gently as if to ensure it was unharmed. Satisfied, it turned its piercing gaze back to Ella. In that moment, their eyes met, human and animal. Without words, Ella felt a profound understanding pass between them, an unspoken acknowledgement bridging their worlds. The mother leopard lingered for a few moments longer before silently turning and leading her cub back into the dense forest. Ella stood motionless, watching them disappear, her heart swelling with emotions she couldn't quite put into words. Relief, joy, and awe at the miracle of nature filled her. She realized that what she had just experienced wasn't merely an act of bravery, but a poignant reminder that humans and wildlife could coexist in mutual respect and understanding. The story of Ella's daring rescue quickly spread among the local community and her research team. Her actions not only saved a vulnerable creature, but also underscored the importance of protecting the environment in times of crisis. For Ella, it wasn't just a memorable day, it was a reaffirmation of the path she had chosen, one that united humanity and nature in a shared journey. In the days following the devastating flood, the tropical rainforest began to recover slowly. The river, though still flowing swiftly, had receded, and the signs of the storm started to fade under the sunlight streaming through the dense canopy. Ella Rivers, continuing her research, spent her time surveying the affected areas to assess the flood's impact on the ecosystem. However, during these patrols, she began noticing strange and unsettling signs. First, they were subtle, unusual tracks on the ground, deliberately broken branches, or newly created trails cutting deep into the forest that didn't appear on any maps. Gradually, her discoveries became more suspicious. One day, while venturing deeper into a less visited part of the forest, Ella stumbled upon a metal trap hidden carefully beneath a layer of decaying leaves. The trap was sturdy and dangerous, clearly not something used by conservationists or researchers like her. A growing sense of unease crept over her, and her anxiety deepened when she discovered a large iron cage nearby, concealed behind dense bushes. It was undeniable proof of illegal activity in the area. Ella quickly reported her findings to the research team, but the vastness of the area and the challenging terrain made it difficult to track down the culprits. Determined to gather more information, she decided to continue monitoring the situation, hoping to uncover the scale and intentions of these poachers. In this effort, she found an unexpected ally, the mother leopard she had saved. Since the flood, the mother leopard had started appearing more frequently near where Ella worked. First, Ella only caught glimpses of her from a distance, the animal's golden eyes watching her every move from behind the foliage. But unlike other wild leopards that would avoid humans, this one gradually began closing the gap. One early morning, as Ella was inspecting an area near the river, she noticed the mother leopard following her at a safe distance, never leaving but never approaching too closely. Instead of fear, Ella felt an inexplicable connection. She realized the animal wasn't a threat but seemed to be trying to communicate. Over the next few days, the mother leopard continued to appear, but this time, she wasn't merely observing. One afternoon, as Ella was jotting notes in her journal, the leopard let out a low growl, grabbing her attention. Then, the animal walked a few steps into a dense part of the forest, stopping to glance back at Ella, as if urging her to follow. Hesitant but trusting, Ella decided to take the chance. She trailed the leopard, navigating narrow paths and dense undergrowth until they arrived at a clearing. There, Ella found undeniable evidence of poaching activity: a series of carefully placed traps, human footprints, and abandoned equipment, including a large sack filled with animal pelts. Ella began to understand. The mother leopard wasn't just following her. It was trying to protect its territory and cubs. Its actions seemed to guide Ella to the places where poachers had been active, as if asking for her help. This realization left Ella both amazed and deeply moved. Such behavior was far from typical for wild animals, and she couldn't help but wonder if the leopard remembered that she was the one who had saved its cub during the flood. Yet, along with her emotions came a growing awareness of the danger she was in. The poachers had left behind traps and cages, but they could return at any moment. Ella knew she needed to act quickly. She carefully documented everything she found, photographing tracks, marking locations on her map, and collecting as much evidence as possible. She also remained mindful of the leopard's presence, taking care not to make any sudden movements that might be misinterpreted as a threat. Gradually, Ella pieced together that the poaching signs were not random but highly organized. The traps were strategically placed along animal migration routes, and the evidence suggested the group was targeting not only smaller animals but also larger species like tigers or elephants. This realization strengthened her resolve to protect the area. She decided to return to base, collaborate with her research team, and report the situation to local authorities for immediate intervention. In the days that followed, the mother leopard continued to appear, almost as if checking to see if Ella was truly taking action. One morning, as Ella left her camp to resume her work, she saw the leopard standing on a small hill, watching her silently before slipping away into the forest. Ella felt a profound sense of gratitude. She knew that, even without words, the animal had sent her a powerful message. Humans are not alone in protecting nature, and sometimes, the wild creatures themselves play the role of silent guardians. Ella Rivers knew she was facing a far greater danger than she had initially imagined. After discovering the signs of poachers in the forest, she became determined to investigate further and gather evidence to bring them to justice. During one of her patrols deep in the jungle, she stumbled upon a secret camp meticulously camouflaged. Hidden deep in an unfrequented area, the camp was surrounded by thick vegetation and covered with green nets to avoid detection from above. Inside, she saw high-tech equipment, including large iron cages, thermal sensors, and tracking devices, all designed to capture and transport rare animals. Ella's heart sank as she realized this was not the work of a small group but an organized poaching network with significant resources. Their targets weren't just smaller animals, they were going after endangered species like tigers, leopards, and even elephants. She quietly documented everything with her camera and phone, careful not to make any noise that might give away her presence. She knew every photo and video would serve as crucial evidence in dismantling this operation. As if understanding what was happening, the mother leopard continued to act as a guide for Ella. After every patrol, she would appear, keeping a safe distance but never taking her eyes off Ella. One day, as Ella tracked the poacher's trail, the mother leopard emerged from the dense jungle. This time, she didn't just watch. Instead, she led Ella down a narrow path where Ella discovered more hidden traps and freshly cut trails the poachers had made. The leopard's guidance not only helped Ella uncover more evidence, but also gave her a clearer understanding of the poacher's methods. Ella felt a unique connection with the animal, as if they shared a common goal: to protect the forest and its inhabitants. The climax of their struggle came on a stormy night. Heavy rain muffled the sounds of the jungle, but Ella couldn't sleep. An uneasy feeling kept her awake, and as she checked her surveillance equipment, she realized the poachers were putting a large-scale plan into motion. They were heading toward the territory of the mother leopard and her cubs. Ella quickly pieced together their goal: to capture the leopard and her cubs alive, likely to sell them on the black market. Ella sprang into action. Grabbing her gear, she dashed through the forest, determined to reach the area before the poachers. Along the way, she encountered the mother leopard, moving silently through the darkness as if sensing the imminent danger. Together, they became unlikely allies in the night. Ella used her knowledge of the forest to locate the poachers' traps and disrupt their equipment. Ella began by disabling the thermal sensors the poachers had set up to detect animals. Using rocks, she smashed the delicate electronics, rendering them useless. She then sabotaged the large traps they had constructed, ensuring they wouldn't function. Meanwhile, the mother leopard prowled the area, drawing the poachers' attention and creating confusion. Some of the poachers grew panicked as their equipment failed, unnerved by the sudden presence of the leopard in the stormy night. The confrontation reached its peak when the poachers realized their plan was falling apart. Hidden behind dense bushes, Ella observed them arguing and frantically trying to fix their equipment. At that moment, the mother leopard appeared on the opposite side of the clearing and let out a thunderous roar. The sound echoed through the rain-soaked jungle, not only as a warning but also as a signal of defiance. The poachers, now visibly shaken, began to retreat, unsure of what else might be watching them. Taking advantage of the chaos, Ella captured everything on her camera: their faces, actions, and the camp's layout. The rain intensified, and the poachers eventually abandoned their plan. Fleeing the area, Ella watched from a distance, ensuring they left before she emerged to inspect the site. The mother leopard and her cubs remained safe, hidden within the dense forest. Ella felt a wave of relief wash over her, knowing that she and the leopard had thwarted the poacher's scheme. Back at her base, Ella compiled all the evidence she had gathered: photos, videos, and detailed notes about the poachers' locations and equipment. She immediately reported her findings to local authorities, and within days, a large-scale operation was launched to apprehend the poachers. The entire group was arrested, The endangered animals in the area were protected, and the dangerous traps were dismantled. For Ella, that stormy night was more than just a battle. It was a testament to the power of collaboration between humans and nature in the fight against those who threaten its delicate balance. Looking back, she couldn't forget the mother leopard's gaze. Filled with shared determination, Ella knew that, even without words, their partnership was a profound example of the deep connection that can exist between humans and the wild. After the fateful stormy night, Ella Rivers knew she couldn't waste another moment. Upon returning to her base, she immediately began compiling all the evidence she had gathered over the past days. Photographs of steel traps, large cages, and the high-tech equipment used by the poachers, along with videos capturing their activities in the forest, were carefully organized. She also had detailed notes about the location of each device, the routes used by the poachers, and even identifying details of the individuals involved. Ella understood that this information would be the key to exposing their operation and bringing justice to the forest. The task was far from easy. For hours, Ella sat in her tent, meticulously reviewing every photo and video to ensure no detail was overlooked. She even cross-referenced data from tracking devices she had found in the forest to demonstrate that the poachers had been operating there for an extended period. Her handwritten notes painted a clear picture of an organized network targeting rare species like tigers, leopards, and even elephants. Once her report was complete, Ella sent all her findings to conservation organizations and local authorities. She knew that only the intervention of law enforcement could put an end to the poachers' activities. Her report, both detailed and compelling, prompted an immediate response. With the support of forest rangers and local police, a large-scale raid was carefully planned. The objective was not only to apprehend the poachers but also to rescue any wildlife they had captured. On the day of the operation, the forest was filled with an air of tension. Equipped with everything they needed, the task force moved silently along the routes Ella had identified. They approached the poachers' camp, now guarded by the very devices Ella had documented. But this time, the poachers were outmatched, armed with clear evidence and a well-devised strategy. The authorities arrested the entire group on site. The cages holding rare animals were opened, freeing creatures on the brink of extinction. Ella watched from a distance, her heart swelling with a mix of relief and emotion. She knew her efforts had paid off. The forest, where she had spent weeks studying and connecting with nature, was now safer than ever. The dangerous traps were dismantled, illegal paths were sealed, and threatened animals were set free. Among the rescued animals, Ella recognized the mother leopard and her cubs, who had been her allies throughout this journey. The mother leopard, though confined in a cage, still exuded strength and dignity. When the rangers opened the cage to release them back into the wild, the mother didn't immediately flee. Instead, she paused, turning to look at Ella. In her golden eyes, Ella saw something extraordinary. Not just the gaze of a wild animal, but a silent thank you, an acknowledgement of the bond they had built over the days. The moment left Ella speechless. She didn't need words to understand that her actions had done more than protect nature. They had fostered a profound relationship with it. The mother leopard and her cubs, now free, disappeared into the dense green forest where they belonged. Ella stood still, watching them vanish, her heart filled with an indescribable sense of fulfillment. Back at the base, Ella was met with congratulations from her colleagues and conservationists. Her actions had not only saved rare creatures but also set a powerful precedent for protecting wildlife. Her report would be preserved not just as a legal document but also as a lesson for rangers and conservationists worldwide. Yet for Ella, the recognition wasn't the most important part. It was the deep sense of contribution to nature, a feeling that no award could ever replace. On her final day in the forest, Ella stood on a high vantage point, overlooking the vast expanse where she had spent so many unforgettable weeks. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying the eternal melody of the jungle. In a fleeting moment, she spotted the silhouette of the mother leopard on a distant hill, standing proud and still, As if to say goodbye, Ella raised her hand, feeling a profound connection to this land. When the leopard finally disappeared into the forest, Ella knew her journey here was complete, but her mission to protect nature was far from over. Ella River's courageous actions in confronting the poachers not only saved the mother leopard and her cubs, along with other rare animals, but also left a lasting legacy in the tropical rainforest where she worked. Thanks to the evidence Ella gathered and the success of the anti-poaching operation, the wildlife protection system in the area saw significant improvements. Conservation authorities didn't stop at dismantling traps and removing illegal equipment. They also introduced a series of new measures to prevent such activities from happening again. One of the most impactful changes was the installation of surveillance cameras throughout the area. These modern devices not only monitored wildlife activity, but also provided early warnings of unusual human presence in sensitive zones. Patrol teams were reinforced, with the participation of both local rangers and international researchers. These patrols not only ensured the safety of animals but also protected the forest from external threats. All these efforts were inspired by Ella's bravery and determination, which had shown that even one individual could make a difference in protecting innocent lives. For Ella, the fight against the poachers wasn't a singular event but the beginning of a deeper bond with nature. After the operation, she decided to stay in the area to continue her research. Her days were filled with surveying ecosystems, documenting animal behaviors, and collaborating with conservation organizations to implement more effective forest protection strategies. However, what moved Ella the most were the occasional signs of the mother leopard and her cubs near her worksite. Each time she came across their tracks, Ella couldn't help but smile, feeling a quiet connection with the wild creatures she had once saved. On one occasion, while patrolling near the river where she had rescued the cub, Ella found fresh tracks leading to the water's edge. Beside them were smaller prints, likely from the now-grown cubs. The sight reminded her that nature never forgets and that the bond between humans and animals, when built on respect and empathy, could become a symbol of harmony. Ella never attempted to approach the mother leopard, understanding that the distance between them was what maintained the balance between their two worlds. Ella's story didn't remain confined to the Indian rainforest. It became a source of inspiration for international conservation efforts. Wildlife organizations used her story to highlight the importance of courage and empathy in environmental protection. Ella was invited to speak at major conferences, where she shared her experiences, from the dangers she faced to the valuable lessons she learned through her unique bond with the mother leopard. At one international conservation summit, Ella said, "I used to think my mission was simply to protect nature, but my experience with the mother leopard taught me something greater. We are not just guardians of nature, we are part of it. When we learn to respect and cooperate with other species, nature responds in ways we could never anticipate." Her words resonated deeply with her audience, from scientists to young people seeking a path in conservation. The legacy of courage Ella left behind wasn't just about technological advancements or new conservation strategies. It was about the powerful message that humans and nature can coexist in harmony. People living near the forest where she worked began to see nature differently, participating more actively in conservation programs. Stories of Ella's brave actions spread among the community, becoming part of local culture and reminding everyone that every individual, no matter how small, can make a difference. On the final day of her research term, Ella returned to the river where it all began. The scenery was as beautiful as the first day she arrived, but her heart was now filled with memories and profound lessons. In the soft afternoon light, she spotted the silhouette of the mother leopard on a distant hill, standing still with her now-grown cubs. The three of them watched her silently from afar. Ella raised her hand in a quiet farewell. The mother leopard lingered for a moment, as if to acknowledge her, before slowly leading her cubs back into the dense forest. As Ella turned to leave, her heart brimmed with hope. She knew her work didn't end there, and that every step she took in her journey to protect nature mattered. Her story stood as a testament to the power of courage, empathy, and the belief that humans and animals could work together to create a better world.